Hello, my name is Nicholas Suter, and this is the Rundown. As everybody by now knows, and as we told you yesterday, in fact, Donald Trump has been indicted. There's been a lot of questions about it. We have now seen the indictment. It's been out for about 8 hours now. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go over it page by page. Now, it's a 46-page indictment. More than half of those pages is filler that you don't really need to know. And just listing of documents and stuff. So we're going to go over what we've seen so far, what it seems to mean, and what we're expecting. We're then going to go over what the next few steps are, how serious we think this is, and if anyone has any questions, tag in time at the in the live chat, and if I can get to them, I will try to. There's been a lot. There's been so much speculation. A few very important things seem to have been neglected in general in the media. First, Trump, when we reported on this yesterday, Trump had come out and said that he was being represented by Jim Trusty, I think was, Jim Trusty, his lawyer, and another law firm. Both resigned earlier this morning. He is now without a lawyer in this issue. That's not actually entirely true. It looks like he has retained the same lawyer that he is using in the what is it? It's, I forget what the actual charges are in New York, but it's related to the Stormy Daniels issue. It's the filing false business statements and so on and so forth. He has retained that lawyer for this case. We're going to talk about possible reasons why his current legal defense resigned. There's any number of possible reasons. They have not given a public reason, which means that it's bad, really is what it means. Honestly, if they gave a good reason, you wouldn't be able to trust it. If they gave a good reason, you wouldn't know. It might be good, it might be bad. If the reason was benign, they'd say why, because they know everyone's going to speculate. And there's no real harm in the lawyers lying to the public and saying, well, we left because there was a minor conflict of interest and we wanted everything to be above board, which is usually the excuse given. It may be true. It may be a complete lie. You don't know. In this case, they didn't even bother lying. They just got the fuck out of Dodge. So we'll get to that in a minute. But I started a little early. I like to keep Titan on his toes. So that's the first thing. The second thing is it looks like the ethics committee is reopening its investigation into Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz has been charged with a number of things, including child trafficking for transporting a minor, a 17-year-old girl, across state lines. Allegedly, he was having sex with her and paid with her to come on vacation with him, and as soon as he crossed state lines, that's sex trafficking. The investigation, the criminal investigation into that has been stalled for some time, but Congress appears to be now reopening its own investigation. If that becomes public, and it looks like they're considering public hearings on it. If they do, that may restart the criminal investigation. Investigators don't like falling behind when Congress is investigating things, as we saw the Justice Department with January 6th. The Justice Department was like, well, January 6th, maybe, maybe not. Oh, they're having hearings. We'd better do this or we could look bad. So we'll see. So a lot going on. Trump, sort of doing an overview of the defense of Trump yesterday and very early today. It was pretty much what you'd expect. From my personal perspective, and I'd be curious to know other people's perspectives, it seems to have died off already pretty rapidly. And very specific condemnations have morphed into more general complaints. So instead of saying, well, this is obviously a targeted, hit job by, Biden and all of these other things, it's gone into, well, we need to make sure that the FBI is doing its job. And, we always make sure that everything's followed up on. And as investigations need to be above board. Well, that's a far more general claim. And my suspicion is because people have started to look at this indictment. I don't think Marjorie Taylor Greene could read or understand this indictment, to be quite honest. And that's not as much of a dig as it may sound, it's not easy going through an indictment. But having said that, if somebody explained this to her, I think she's going to keep going off the deep end. But it just from where I'm sitting, it looks like people have started to back off the defense, and this indictment is not only pretty damning, but well, if they don't have him, I'm going to be curious how. And the fact that he's losing lawyers hand over fist is a pretty good indication of a number of problems on the Trump side. So let's get into exactly what's going on. We're going to start with the difference between a charge and a count, because there's been some questions about this. There are 7 charges against him. The 7 charges constitute, I believe it's 37 counts. So what the hell is the difference? A charge just means you committed a crime, and a specific crime. If you take out a gun and shoot at 10 people, that is attempted murder. But it's not attempted murder, attempted murder, attempted murder, attempted murder. It's one charge. You have committed attempted murder. That's the charge. We are charging you with attempted murder. How many times did you do it? 10 times. You are on 10 counts of attempted murder. One charge. Attempted murder, 10 counts. That's the difference. Easiest way to say it, I don't know. That's how they go about it. So Trump has 7 counts against him, and that has, 7 charges against him, and a total of 37 counts amongst the 7 charges. So many of these he did more than once, but it's 7 specific crimes that they are alleging that have been repeated. So 38. Thank you for the correction. So let's get into what some of these are. Counts 1 through 31 are all for the charge of willful retention of national defense information. Now, we learned a lot more about what that means, and that's a pretty damning. We all kind of laughed earlier. Is it the nuclear codes? What is it? Some of it was extraordinarily serious stuff. We're going to get into what they're alleging it was. Obviously, nuclear information is quite serious, but as is information pertaining to weaknesses in U.S. defense, weaknesses in our allies' defenses, and any number of other intelligence things which they are claiming he was in possession of, and in some cases shared. That's extraordinary, and one significant problem here is we have allies who, as it turns out, can read. And when they read this, they're going to want to know, and we've got some idea of the kind of documents they were. If the U.S. did an intelligence assessment of security vulnerabilities in Israeli defense, and Trump had that and shared it, there's going to be some pretty pissed off people, some pretty pissed off U.S. allies that we fucking need. And I wish I could tell you that I think the Republican Party still cares about our allies. That used to be something that was really kind of their wheelhouse. But that notwithstanding, I think anybody who is aware of the importance of U.S. relations to other countries and the fact that they give us things they shouldn't be telling us, but they tell us because they know it's safe in U.S. hands. Yeah, I think a lot of people have an interest in seeing this case go all the way. That's an extraordinarily serious, and we're going to get into what some of those documents were, but it's actually in some cases just worse than U.S. nuclear codes. So that's counts 1 through 31. So that's, am I doing off by one error? No, that's 31 counts of willful retention of national defense information. What that means is that he had national defense information that he was not allowed to retain. Now, that's different than going out and acquiring it, right? So they're not saying he went out and stole it. They're not saying he went out and, like a ninja stealthily went. It's that he had this information that he probably obtained legitimately, but he retained it when he should not have. Second, a conspiracy to obstruct justice. Okay, that's a conspiracy charge. That's pretty... Oh, the first one, by the way, max term of 10 years for the first one. This is where the number of counts becomes important versus the charge. So the charge is willful retention of national defense documents. Max term of imprisonment is 10 years. Normally, you know, on something like this, it would run concurrent, so he's not going to get 10 years for each charge. But nonetheless, that's looking at 10 years, maximum supervised release 3 years, max fine $250,000. Conspiracy to obstruct justice. That's a serious one. And we're going to get into why they're claiming that one. And that one, by the way, in an initial read, they have them dead to fucking rights. They can get that in their sleep. We're going to discuss that. Max term of imprisonment, 20 years. Mandatory minimum, okay, the mandatory minimum on that is none, unfortunately. $250,000 on that one. Count 33, withholding a document or record, that is also 20 years in prison maximum. I'm going to go to the next document. This be a little slow with this because these pages printed out upside down every other page. So, because dyslexia isn't enough of a problem to struggle with, now I got to try to read mirror writing upside down, presumably well underwater. Count 34, corruptly concealing a document or record. This one I'm really surprised they don't have more counts on that one, but we'll get into that. That one is also another 20 years. Concealing a document or federal... concealing a document in a federal investigation. That one's 20 years. Count 36. Scheme to conceal. That is 5 years. Count 37. False statements and representations. That is also 5 years. Let's see. I did the conspiracy to obstruct justice, scheme to conceal, and false statements and representations. Now, yeah, I probably have. We have to. Well, some of these we have to cover what's going to be under the Espionage Act, because it is, in fact, some of this is under the Espionage Act. So let's get into the meat of. Let's get into the meat of this complaint. So I'm going to go over page by page every one of these. Like I said, it's actually it's 49 pages, but a lot of these pages are just lists of documents and stuff like that. So, introduction, they introduce who he is. That goes without saying, but they want to make it clear which Donald Trump they're indicting. It's the Donald Trump. Over the course of his presidency, he gathered newspapers, press clippings, letters, note cards, yada, yada, yada. And among the materials he gathered, they're alleging, was boxes of hundreds of classified documents. These documents included, quote, information regarding defense and weapons capabilities of both United States and foreign countries, United States nuclear programs, potential vulnerabilities in the United States and its allies to military attack, and plans for possible retaliation in response to a foreign attack. That's extraordinarily important, too, because we don't want, say, Russia knowing what our planned responses are to any attack from them, because that undermines negotiating positions and it undermines our ability to actually effectively respond, which is part of any deterrent against an attack in the first place. The unauthorized disclosure of these documents put at risk the national security of the United States, foreign relations, the safety of the U.S. military and human sources, and the continued viability of sensitive intelligence collection methods. He ceased to become president at 12 p.m. on January 20th, 2021. Now, their claim is any documents that he had in his possession at that point, he was no longer authorized to hold. Quote, Trump was not authorized to possess or retain these classified documents. They talk about what is Mar-a-Lago. Where is Mar-a-Lago? What is Bedminster? Because they're going to talk about that. That's his golf course. We've discussed this before in July of 2021, and this recording is going to come up several times. Trump showed and described a plan of attack that he said was prepared for him by the Department of Defense and a senior military official. They're going to get into that recording. But in essence, he bragged about the fact that they made this for him. He also thought it was exculpatory on any of the other charges. This is the only guy that's like, well, no, Your Honor, I couldn't have been stealing the diamonds because I was out murdering 6 people. I mean, give me a break. What are you, stupid? That's his defense, and we're going to get into that. But he did say on the recording that he knew that the plan that he was showing to somebody who did not have top secret clearance, he was showing this plan. He knew at the time, and this was the other thing we had mentioned, aside from this having the yeah, he hadn't declassified it. He was showing, and they know who he showed it to. They have this person's testimony. We're going to get into that. He showed a classified document that he said on tape is classified to somebody who did not have classified clearance. Period. He's on tape saying that. That strikes me as the ball game on much of this right there. At any rate, he said, as president, I could have declassified it. Now I can't, but it's still a secret. We're going to get into more of what's on that tape, but that alone is a smoking gun on half of these charges. They're saying also that on March 30th, the FBI opened a criminal investigation and a grand jury subpoena was issued a month later, demanding that Trump, and we covered all of this before, that Trump return the information. Trump apparently asked his attorney to falsely represent to the FBI that he did not have any of the information. We're going to get into that, but they have depositions from his attorney saying that he was ordered to lie to the FBI, which he refused to do. Trump then had his body man, his personal aide, 𝐍𝐢𝐜𝐜𝐚𝐬, move the documents in an attempt to hide them from the attorney who would not lie to the FBI. He then asked his attorney to destroy the documents ahead of the grand jury subpoena. They refused, and then he signed a certification submitted to the FBI and grand jury falsely saying that all of it had been turned over. Fucking staggering. Now, 𝐍𝐢𝐜𝐜𝐚𝐬 is his body man. This is his personal aide. Every president for a while now has had a personal aide. Usually it's someone that the president trusts and knows. The reason is because the personal aide is the president's right-hand man, and they're with the president basically everywhere all the time. And sometimes it's getting tea. Sometimes it's, getting the information. If you need a name, an address, a phone number, this is what they do. If you need the door held open for you, they're with the president all the time. But that also means that they're subject to hearing and learning about classified information. So it's an interesting job, and it has to be someone you trust because they're going to also overhear you arguing with your spouse. They're going to overhear you. They're there all the time. So it's a very personal position. This was his personal aide. And apparently moved the boxes. He is also a defendant in this and the source of the conspiracy charges. It looks as if Trump had ordered him to move a number of boxes, which he did, and coordinated with him through a number of phone calls. The deliberate obfuscation of where these documents were and deliberately trying to hide them. Let's see. He is a U.S. Navy. He was a valet. Yeah, he was essentially the body man, traveled with Trump. Let's go past that. I think, all right. Between January 2021 and August 2022, the Mar-a-Lago Club hosted more than 150 social events, including... all right, so I'll stand by. Okay. 150 events. Now, this is important, too, because do you think any Russians tried to infiltrate these events? Yes, that's what they do. And we're going to show you where some of these boxes were. It's really interesting. Anyways, Mar-a-Lago hosted 150 events, including weddings, movie premieres, fundraisers that drew tens of thousands of guests. The Secret Service did provide protection services for Trump, but they were not responsible for the protection of the boxes or their contents. It then discusses what's the difference between top secret, secret, and confidential. It also talks about special access programs, which is designed to protect classified information by storing it in specific protected rooms. We've talked about these kinds of rooms. They don't allow cell phones in the rooms. Even if you had one, it would block all the cell phone signals. The documents are kept secure, one person in the room at the time. They open the folder with the documents, they read them, they close it, they put it back. That's how secure some of these documents are. We're going to show you where he stored them in just a minute. Pursuant to Executive Order 13-526, Information classified at any level could be lawfully accessed only by persons determined by an appropriate U.S. government official to be eligible to access classified information and who had signed an approved non-disclosure agreement, who had received security clearance, and who had a need to know the classified information. That order also provided that a former president could obtain a waiver of the need to know requirement if the agency head or senior official of the agency that originated the information, that would be out of the CIA, FBI, NSA, determined in writing that access was consistent with the interest of national security and took appropriate steps to protect classified information from unauthorized disclosure or compromise and ensured that the information was safeguarded. Trump did not obtain any such waivers and made no such, he didn't sign an NDA. He was not an authorized agent at the time that he showed these documents to other people. None of that. All right, we're going to go on. They mention a number of interesting statements, and this is, in some cases, a bit of an FU to Trump is why I think they put this in here, but it's also in here because it is, in fact, relevant because he seemed to publicly acknowledge what his obligations were and the seriousness of this. Presumably, that's part of why he got elected. On August 18, 2016, he stated, quote, "In my administration, I'm going to enforce all laws concerning the protection of classified information. No one will be above the law." September 6, 2016, he said, "We also need to fight this battle by collecting intelligence and then protecting our classified secrets. We can't have someone in the Oval Office who doesn't understand the meaning of the word confidential or classified." This was his main argument, one of his arguments against Hillary. On September 7th, 2016, "One of the first things we must do is enforce all classification rules and to enforce all the laws regarding the handling of classified information." September 19th, 2016. "We also need the best protection of classified information." And on November 3rd, 2016, "Service members here in North Carolina have risked their lives to acquire classified intelligence to protect our country," which is true, and one of the issues that I don't think he completely understands. There are people who died for that stuff. All right, they then go about discussing where he kept it, where he moved it, and when. They even have it down to the dates of when he moved these documents, in some cases hours ahead of searches of one room or another. He had the documents moved by his body man to another room where, in his view, I guess they would be safe, literally hours ahead. Some of the places they were stored, this we have here. Some of those are just papers, and some of those are classified documents. Presumably, I don't, hopefully they're not just showing, but this is an example. A number of these documents right next to the toilet there. This was one of the places that he stored them. They're going to talk about this in the affidavit. Is moving the documents to here explicitly to avoid his own lawyer finding them, and he lied and said that this area did not need to be searched because there were no documents in there. This is what Trump means when he says there are no documents in the bathroom. This is one of the main banquet halls in Mar-a-Lago. This is important too because a number of these documents were here throughout a very large period of time, and there appears to be no significant security to keep people in. This certainly isn't SCI. This is not compartmentalized. This is not what we talk about when we say what you should be. And this is indefensible. I think anybody who sits there and says that you can store the highest secrets the U.S. has in with this does not deserve to be in Congress. Now, my suspicion is everybody listening to this agrees with me. I have zero doubt in my mind his allies are going to say, yeah, well, he shouldn't have done it, but you lose any credibility as to taking U.S. national secrets. Imagine if Hillary had fucking done this. Where would we be? If Hillary had done this, they'd have given her 20 years in the electric chair. This is not, and I think this is the main storage room, so he was constantly moving them in and out of this, depending on and they've got all of this on tape, They've got the Mar-a-Lago tapes, videotapes, apparently have told them exactly what was moved and when. And it was all literally as investigators were coming to pick it up. They moved documents in and out. Let's get to, we're going to skip a couple of pages here. We're now on page 15, and we're going to be picking up the pace a little bit. All right. So, we're going to talk about July 21st, 2020. He was at his office in the Bedminster Club, and he was talking with a writer and a publisher in connection with a book that was coming out and he had staffers there at the meeting. One of the staffers recorded the meeting without his knowledge. In the meeting, he revealed that he had a document. It was a plan of attack against Country A. Country A, we learned quite some time ago, was Iran. By the way, they still don't have these. They don't know where these are. So he sat there and showed a proposed plan of attack for how the U.S. would attack Iran. He showed it to a book publisher with no clearance whatsoever to see anything. He acknowledged it was secret. He acknowledged he shouldn't be showing it. Presumably, he must have known he didn't have it, access to it, and had previously, as we discussed, acknowledged that, in fact, and every member of his staff, and we believe now even Mark Meadows, his chief of staff, has said that he was well aware you could not, with your mind, declassify these documents. There was a declassification procedure which he had followed, and he was aware that if he had not followed it, it was not declassified. That is the set of circumstances under which he had this conversation, and that I'm aware of. There is no evidence disputing any of it. He said, well, with this senior official, let me see that. And the senior official was, we believe, the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I'll show you an example. He said that I want to attack Country A. Isn't it amazing? I have a big pile of papers. This thing just came up. Look, it was him. They presented me this. This is off the record, by the way. But they presented me this. This was him. This was the Defense Department and him. The writer says, wow. Trump, we looked at it some. It was him. It wasn't done by me, but this was him. All this sorts of stuff. Pages long. Look. Wait a minute. Let me see here. Staffer laughs. It's, I just found it. Isn't it amazing? He didn't even fucking know how many. Okay, fine. Moving on. Staffer. Except this. Except it's like this. It's highly confidential. Yeah, secret. This is secret information. Look at this. You attack it. He literally said, this is secret. Look at this. On tape. By the way, isn't that incredible? Yeah. I was just thinking, because we were talking about it, and he wanted to attack the country. This was done by the military, given to me. I think we can probably, right? I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to try to declassify it. Yeah. See, as president, I could have done that. Could have. Yeah. Now I can't, you know. It's still a secret. Yeah, laughter. Now we have a problem. Isn't that interesting? So I don't think we have to discuss half the charges. That's half of them right there. Let's see. Beginning of May 2021, the National Archives and Records Administration, henceforth referred to as NARA, was responsible for archiving presidential records, demanded that Trump turn over presidential records at his direction. Between November 20th and 2021 and January 2022, Nauta, his body man, and Trump employee number 2, at Trump's explicit direction, brought boxes from the storage room to Trump's residence to review on November 21st. The Trump employee number 2 provided photographs of the boxes in the storage room. Let's see, they... brought more boxes up. December 29, when they were in contact with the NARA, they promised on December 29th that they would get the correct boxes to Trump employee texted Trump, a Trump representative, and said that we're getting the boxes, presumably the boxes that they wanted. Would love to get a number on them today. They exchanged several texts back and forth. They said we're tracking the boxes. They moved a number of them to, let's see. Sorry, hold on. All right, what they did here, okay, so first of all, they took 15 boxes and loaded them into a commercial truck, which they did, in fact, deliver and surrender on January 17th of 2022, but those boxes deliberately excluded a number of materials that have been brought up to the Trump residency. At this point, they're saying that when he was interviewed by the FBI in May of 2022, he falsely claimed that he was not aware that boxes had been moved from his from that storage container to his residence. He falsely claimed that he did not know employee number 2 brought those from the residence and had delivered the other boxes to the NARA by employee number 2. That, again, they claim. At this point, prosecutors say they have all the text messages. They have the texts. Apparently he said this. And he replied when asked by the FBI, do you know if there are any more documents or were any documents outside of that locked location? He replied, quote, I wish I could tell you. I don't know. I honestly don't know. They're saying that statement is, of course, a lie. All right, moving on. We talked before about how he had asked his attorney to lie about it. We have some of the conversations written here. It includes, let's see, apparently he told attorney number 1, I don't want anybody looking. I don't want anybody looking through my boxes. I really don't. I don't want you looking through my boxes. Now, this is the attorney that he had told, presumably he told to either hide or destroy the evidence. We're going to get into a few other things that were documented that he told this attorney to do. This begs a question that nobody's asked. That's not true. Some people are asking. We haven't really thought about it. Why? I said this before. I have some sympathy for he was going to barter them or trade them to the Russians or the Iranians or yada, yada, yada. His mind thinks like that. I don't think he thought of that ahead of time. And him just like, oh, look at what I stumbled across. I think he just collected this shit. I think it was a symbol of his prestige. I think he loved showing them to people. And I think he genuinely felt that because he'd been president, he owns it. I think he felt he owned the United States. He owned the Washington Monument. He owned the White House. It was his. That's just how his mind works. All of these documents are his, and he's very proud of them. He's proud to have had them in his possession. And this is, by the way, everybody's felt this way. There's a stage in development around 12 years old where you start to get out of this mindset. It's like object permanence, which you learn at what? Oh, Jesus, I forget we really learn object permanence, but you start to learn it, I think, in about 4 months. Regardless, it's a stage of development. He's stuck at 12. These documents are his, and he doesn't want even his own lawyer going through them. So anyways, he said to his, so he's going through all this trouble. And I think that's the other thing that makes it a little hard for some people to swallow this, is because, well, he wasn't, what was he going to do? Was he going to sell them to the Russians or this? Given the opportunity, I have no doubt he would have, but I don't think that's why he kept them. I think he felt they'd come in handy, and he did try to sell them during his interview with Hannity, but that was cute. All right. So he also told his attorney, quote, what happens if we just don't respond at all or don't play ball with them? His attorney told him they had to. Wouldn't it be better if we just told them we don't have anything here? Well, look, isn't it better if there are no documents? So then he has, okay. So then his attorney said that there was a conversation about the Hillary emails, and he was lamenting that Hillary's attorneys were willing to delete all the emails that she had, which anybody who's watched the show or read anything knows isn't even close to what happened. But Trump reportedly said, Hillary's attorney, he was great. He did a great job. You know what? He said that was him, that he was the one who deleted all of her emails, the 30,000 emails, because they're basically dealt with her scheduling and her going to the gym and her having beauty appointments. And he was great. And so she didn't get in any trouble because he said he was the one who deleted them. That is attempted conspiracy, attempting to get his attorney to delete the evidence and delete all of it because, hey, that's what this guy who literally said lock her up because of all the horrible things she's done. And people have said this before. I saw it in the live chat already. Every accusation is a confession. He's admiring that Hillary got away with it, and he's admiring that this is how one could get away with a crime, and could he please do the same thing? The fact that this doesn't shock any conservative who's ever thought about supporting Trump and who thought that at least maybe he was right about Hillary, or he'd be Hillary if he could. He's pissed at her not because she did it. He's pissed at her because, at least in his view, she got away with it. On June 1st, 2022, and this is where it gets interesting. Now, Trump texted with a female family member. We believe at this point it was 𝐍𝐢𝐜𝐴. We also believe that she has testified and that she is, in fact, handing over evidence against Trump. It appears that he was asking her to move boxes. It also looks like at this point they were expecting that any day they would be getting a visit from the Records Administration. In fact, they were going to invite the Records Administration over so they could control the time. So at 12:52 p.m., which is awfully precise, 11 boxes were moved from the storage room by the president's former body man on June 22nd. The Trump attorney came in on a scheduled review of all of the documents in the storage room. He asked if he could see outside the storage room, and Trump denied and said there are no documents outside of the storage room, despite the fact that they'd been moved less than 24 hours earlier. After the review, between 12:33 p.m. and 12:52 p.m., Mar-a-Lago employees moved approximately 30 boxes from the Trump residency back into the storage room after the lawyer had reviewed them and determined which ones had classified information and which ones didn't. So they were moved out 24 hours before, and they were moved back literally moments after the lawyer left and certified that he had seen everything that was in there. In short, between May 23rd and June 2nd, approximately 64 boxes were moved from the Trump to the Trump residency and brought 30 back. Eventually, the others remained there, all in an attempt to hide these documents from his own attorney. It gets a bit into the procedures his attorney had used to verify which documents he was finding and to not look at the documents because he couldn't. So he's trying to find classified information without reading the classified information. There's a job. They are accusing him of lying and conspiracy in regards to his claims that, quote, a diligent search was conducted of the boxes that were moved from the White House to Florida. This search was conducted after receipt of the subpoena in order to locate any and all documents related to the subpoena. And any and all documents we certify have been turned over to the Records Administration. They are claiming that that was a falsehood, and that is the part of the obstruction charge. And I think was the falsifying documents in an investigation. They say this is false for any number of reasons. They also say that, they have them on video. They moved all the documents, and they have presumably all of Trump's instructions to move them. They say that Trump Attorney 1 and 3 had certified at that point that they had all the documents. They believe Attorney 1 believed that it was the case, but since, and we know who Attorney 1 is, he's basically come out and said, yeah, he lied to me. And he said that Trump claimed later in May that he was, quote, an open book and had complied with all requests from the FBI and the Records Administration. July 2022, the FBI grand jury obtained surveillance video, and the video from Mar-a-Lago shows the movement of the boxes described above. So they're claiming to have all of this on video. A few more, Trump doing hand motions saying, can we I'm not saying that we need to take the documents out of the envelopes. What I am saying is, they describe the motion. They describe it's hilarious. Moving on. The rest is, okay, I'm going to skip the rest. So that's it. That's, in essence, what we have. I don't see how this does not result in a conviction on at least half of these charges. If they have the video, they say they have. We know they have the audio. We've heard it. Why did Trump's attorney quit? A couple of different possible reasons. The most obvious is at some point, it doesn't matter how much money you're being offered. This could easily be the last case you ever take. You will be blackballed by absolutely everybody, and Trump has thrown at least one or two. He threw his previous lawyer under the bus and said, oh, no, it was my attorney who said that he wanted to destroy the evidence. And he's like, yeah, except I wrote it all down when it happened. So, attorney-client privilege, this is how you pierce attorney-client privilege. If, in fact, that attorney is still probably going to lose his license because, well, not necessarily. As a lawyer, you have to maintain privilege with your client. I do believe in it very strongly. I think it's very important. I believe it's sacrosanct. There are a few exceptions to them. One is if your client tells you they're planning on committing a crime in the future. If you believe your client is planning on committing a crime in the future, you have to report it. You're an officer of the court first, period, end of discussion. So could this guy reasonably have assumed that Trump was going to do all of this shit? Well, Trump asked for permission. The lawyer said no. Then Trump asked the lawyer to do it, and the lawyer said no. That's actually all still confidential. It's not anymore. So, and that lawyer kept copious notes. Why is the current lawyer leaving? Well, Trump basically accused the former lawyer of multiple felonies and said, well, he was the one who hid all the documents. Well, of course, Trump's going to say that. It looks crystal clear. They've got the evidence that Trump did it. He ordered it. My guess is the lawyer is going to be completely exonerated, but he's going to get out of this by the skin of his teeth. So I don't think any lawyer is going to want to do this. If they do, they're going to want enough money that they never have to work again. And Trump's going to be running out of money pretty soon. His business has been targeted by 𝐒𝐨𝐿𝐴𝐽𝐻, probably going to go under in New York. Even if it doesn't go under, he's already fighting 37, 38 counts in New York on top of this, and he's going to be indicted in Georgia very soon. We know a criminal grand jury has returned a recommendation of an indictment. In Georgia, the grand jury actually does not indict. They just give a recommendation, but the recommendation has been to indict. So there's going to be a Georgia indictment. It's probably going to be for election tampering. It's going to be for a number of very serious charges. I expect one or two of the charges will actually have, believe it or not, more jail time on the books than what we've been talking about here. So if you're a lawyer, if you play your cards right, you're going to get some money out of this. He doesn't pay his lawyers, and I don't think he's learned that lesson. I don't think he ever will, so it doesn't matter how much trouble he gets in. Trump is the scorpion. The turtle is on the scorpion. The lawyer's the turtle. It doesn't matter. Sorry, turtle's on the scorpion? Other way around. Scorpion's on the turtle. I'm sure you all know the story. The scorpion wants to cross the river. Turtle says, can I hop on your back to the turtle? Turtle says, no, because if you hop on my back, you'll sting me and kill me. And Scorpion says, no, I wouldn't do that because, then we'd both drown, because I'll be on the river. Turtle says, makes sense. Scorpion gets on the turtle's back, go halfway through the river. Scorpion stings the turtle. Turtle gets paralyzed. And as he's, succumbing to the water, says, why'd you do that? We're both going to Now we're both going to die. And the Scorpion said, well, it's in my nature. It's in Trump's nature not to pay his employees. It's in his nature to rip off his lawyers. That's never going to change. So he's going to be scraping bottom of the barrel lawyers, or lawyers who don't know any better, or lawyers who just don't give a fuck. I don't know. But the fact that he just lost his entire Florida legal defense hours after this, they don't want to go near it with a 10-foot pole. They probably are. And again, look at the indictment. So that's where we stand. I will be taking questions. Not that I'm an expert in this, so I'm not a lawyer. We've been looking at talking to a few different lawyers here and seeing what we can get for it. I think there's going to be a lot of opining on this in the future. And as I said, I have noticed since this has come out, I mean, the number of photos, tapes, and evidence that they have that I think is going to be bulletproof, it's causing people to slow down in his defense. So we'll see where it goes over the next couple of days. $2, Sinister Porpoise. Is the Scorpion... Oh, it's the Scorpion and the Frog, not the Turtle. Well, thank you for the correction. There you go. I will have to remember that. All right, so it's a lot of material. I had hoped this show would be shorter, but I did want to go over the entire thing and what they're claiming and what it looks like they have. If they have what they say they do, and this is not a game of chicken. And prosecutors don't get to be prosecutors by lying on indictments, saying what they can show when they can't show it. Now, they speculate sometimes, and they say, we intend to prove X, Y, and Z, but they don't say we have the footage of him actually moving the body, if they don't have the footage of him moving the body. So my suspicion is they've got all of this. And it shows a longer, more thought out, and very deliberate attempt to hide all of these documents, to lie about having them repeatedly, and an admission that he knew they were secret. He knew he shouldn't be showing them, literally as he's fucking showing them to people. The other one that I thought was interesting, and this was one of his defenses, and this is just the Trump mindset. And let me see, I may not have that image. I had the image earlier. There's an image. He tweeted out an image of all of these documents outside the White House in transparent containers, which we covered. I remember covering that, being like, what kind of fucking idiot are you? And he basically said, see, all the classified documents are right there. So now people are saying that they didn't know we had them. You could just see them. We dropped them all on the White House lawn. We dropped all the classified documents out in the middle of, and everyone knew we had them. Yeah, I remember that day. That was one of my objections. Every time he opens his mouth, he makes things, he has no idea why that's a problem. 12 years old, I swear to God. Just 12 years old, I'm sticking to it. Yeah, he's done at least 40 truths since this has begun. He's apparently, he attacked Obama, said Obama was gay, or suggested Obama was gay. He's gone after the special counsel, saying that he's a psycho and rabid anti-Trump and all of this. He's becoming unhinged. So that's it. That's the best that we've got. Only 8 hours after the drop of this thing. There's going to be a lot more. We're not going to do a blow-by-blow of it. We want to make sure that our audience has a good primer on it, and hopefully we've done that, and hopefully you guys are now aware. We are obviously just discussing this. I'm going to go to bed, and I'm going to wake up, and there's going to be a very long thread discussing this on our Discord. I hope you guys will come by and join us. Titan dropped a link also to our sister channel. It's really important we get that to 1,000 subs if we can. We're like 80 short. Actually, we're less than that. I think now at this point we're like 60 or 40 short. So if you can help us out and do that, that would be really great. Really appreciate. Thank you, Sinister Porpoise, for your super chat and for your support. Thanks to all the members, to the patrons, and everyone who has supported this show. I'm the face of it, but there's a lot of people who work very hard to get this information to you guys. I think it's valuable. I hope you agree, and by the support, a lot of you agree. So we sincerely appreciate that support. Thank you all, and we're gonna have the record heat numbers set across the world last week, and we're gonna have on let's see, we're gonna have on Mark and Jason Thornton to discuss that. They've both been on this channel a number of times. I think it's going to be a good show. We're going to be doing that Tuesday, I believe, 9 p.m. Eastern. Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, as Andrew is going to be with us for that. And we'll keep you all updated. Thank you all once again. And we will see you, I was going to say barring anything big. It's going to be an interesting week, folks. Thank you for joining us, and see you on Tuesday night.